you're never ever doing anything on your own. And that family that you create is so special and is just what I would call a cheeky bonus of becoming a Christian, is that you entered into this family of other Christians who only want to love you and help you. But you got to get that relationship with Jesus right first, and that will anchor you for the toughest of storms.
And how did you mend that relationship from that time? Did you have somebody helping you or supporting you?
Yeah, so I mentioned David Kendall in my story. He was like I said earlier, a mentor to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to ring him up and have a vent down the phone if I was struggling with something, or we would go for a beer and play a game of pool and just talk things out. And he would allow me to get angry. He'd let me express my feelings and my problems, and he would always come back to me with, have you prayed today? Have you read your Bible today? Do you want me to pray for you? Can we go worship together? Should we listen to something? Should we watch something? And he always steered me back. And eventually I learned how to do that steering myself, without having him to do it for me. And he lives in Australia now with his wife and his kids. We still talk even today across the world, and we share that stuff. And he's phenomenal. He's a great guy, and I wish I'd have had someone like him much sooner. But he came at the time he needed to come, and God sent him to me when I needed him, and he was there for me.
Great. So you've come through it, and just tell us a little bit now how about you met your new wife and how that came.
So we met at work. So my role is kind of, I've worked at CAP for 6 years in their head office, so I've done a number of different roles there. But then 5 years ago, I stepped out to do some of the frontline work as well. So I run the debt centre, the job club here in Bradford.
Explain what CAP is, please, for some people.
So CAP is Christians Against Poverty. So it's a debt counselling charity based in Bradford. Centres all over the country. They're in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Chicago, all over the place. I got a job with them because they helped me out of debt. So I wanted to give something back, so I started working with them. And my new wife started working there, and we just bumped into each other because she had a couch that she was giving away, and she knew that because I was running the centre, I might know someone who needs a couch. So she sent me some pictures and was like, "I've got this couch if you can give it away." And we were both mutual friends with someone else who worked there, and we went out for a birthday drink and we got talking. And she was just inquisitive. She wanted to know a bit more about me. And so I said, "Oh, well, this is testimony territory." So we went for a coffee and we shared our stories with each other. And then we went for a drink and a meal. And then next thing you know, we're kind of like, I hadn't realized that we were essentially having dates. She was like, "Yeah, this is a date. Did you not realize that?" I was like, "No, totally didn't realize this is a date." And I was cheeky enough to make the first move, and everything went swimmingly from there. We got engaged. Well, we met in the October, was engaged by April. Well, we just knew that there was just, the old cliche, when you know. For us, that was true. And we got married the following October, which was, funnily enough, it was like a week after the BBC Two documentary went out to the public. So we were middle of wedding planning when that documentary landed. We were just like, yeah.
What's your lovely wife's name?
Her name's Beth.
Okay.
Yeah, she's great.
You told us all about the story you told us about the miscarriage, but tell us about Isabella, the joy she brings you.
Oh, she's so amazing. Yeah, so she was born on Valentine's Day 2019. So 11:30 at night, it nearly tipped over onto February 15th. And I was saying to my wife while we were pregnant, she's either going to land on the leap year day or it's going to be Valentine's Day. And she came on Valentine's Day. And we really sought God about her name, and we felt that, Isabella was a beautiful name, and joy, joy was just what we were feeling and what we sensed. And, she's only known lockdown, which is surreal now to think that she's nearly a year old. And she's grown up in lockdown. So, she's met her grandparents briefly. She sees a lot of people over the phone. She's not been to any kids' classes or like nurseries or kind of tots and toddler groups and stuff like that. She's missed out on actually quite a lot, but at the same time, she's pulling herself up on stuff. She's crawling around. She's starting her first words. She's eating on her own. She's got a better diet now than I have ever had in my life. She's having avocado and asparagus and all this fancy food that I didn't even eat until my 30s. And she's always smiling and she's always happy. And, you know, we present at church sometimes, so we service lead, so we do church online, and everybody's really happy when they see Isabella on the screen with us. And, you know, we share about her on social media, and people feel so connected to us as a family that they just love her. And she's a highlight to everybody. And she's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
The boss in the house, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I live with 3 women. I've got a female cat, my wife, and my daughter. So I'm the only guy in the house.
I'm the same as you, pal. Now, of the other things that you love in your life, you love wrestling.
Yeah.
You said you train. Tell us a little bit why you wanted to get into wrestling. Was it because of the fighting, or was it something you used to watch on telly?
Yeah, so again, I mentioned briefly that I used to watch it when I was a kid. I always loved the showmanship of it, the storytelling, the characters. Never so much about the violence. It really wasn't about the violence. It was the showmanship that attracted me. And I kind of liked to think that I was living vicariously through these characters, that I could escape the rubbish that was going on at home. And for a few hours, I could watch wrestling and get lost with Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Shawn Michaels and Triple H and the Hardy Boys and all these characters. And when I got into my early 20s, I found out about a wrestling school that was doing the training. And I was like, oh, well, actually, I probably want to give that a go. So I went and started training, and I picked it up really quickly. I kind of learned how to do the physical stuff, but I had what they would call the intangible, which is the X factor, where I was able to kind of do the showmanship stuff quite easily. I was quite natural at it. So I was able to bring crowds in on my matches, and they were reacting the way I wanted them to react. And the matches were kind of peaking and troughing, and the psychology was there. All I needed to learn how to do was how to do it safely. So the training was actually quite quick. And then, like I said, I've been doing it 10 years now. I toured the country doing it. Obviously, haven't been able to do it during lockdown because you can't really socially distance while wrestling. That's pretty much impossible. Yeah, so I started out just giving it a go, getting into a training school, and just when it happened, it just flew. And I've been running my own shows more recently as part of my own ministry, touring churches, doing wrestling events for churches, and then I share my story in the middle. So God really challenged me one time around the platforms that we have, and how we use those platforms. So being a wrestler, that's a platform. So how do I use that to show the love of Jesus? And so my character changed, my whole ring style changed, everything switched up to trying to reflect Christ as best I could. And then I've been running the odd show here and there for friends and fundraisers for CAP and other stuff. And I realized, well, actually, if I'm running the show, I'm in charge of the content. So I can pick what matches happen when, whatever happens. So I thought, well, why don't I just put my testimony smack bang in the middle, so people come for the wrestling, but then they hear my story. I mean, what better way to tell them about Jesus? Amen. And then we have a little bit of wrestling afterwards. And so I tried it a couple of times with some churches that I knew through CAP, and they were really happy with it. And next thing you know, we were at the Christian Vision for Men gathering event in front of 2,500 people. We did a church in Leeds, got 500 plus people through the door from the local community. They got to hear my story. We're all signing up for Alpha at the end, and just really solid response. Bishop Philip North is a fan. He actually slapped one of the wrestlers one time at a show for funnies, and it's just taken off. And you know, we were planning to have a bumper year this year, but again, COVID has kind of put a stop to that. But hey, when churches open back up again and things can happen, we will be back in full swing with that. Really, again, just to put Jesus front and center, and to give him the platform that he deserves.
Now, like you, I grew up watching Giant Haystacks, Mick McManus.
Yeah. Mick McManus, classic. Yeah.
Big Daddy. And I'm going to ask you a question now that everybody wants to ask. Is it real?
This is the question.
Is it real?
Okay. So I answer this question a lot. So I've kind of got a pre-made answer for this question. So it depends what you mean when you say real. Often people ask the question, is it fake? Again, depends what you mean when you say fake. So I'm sorry to burst the bubble. The winner is predetermined. I'm sorry. For those of you who thought that it was real, the winner is predetermined. I'm sorry. But what is real, what you can't fake, is the slams, the falls, the hits. As much as you learn how to break fall, as you would in any martial art, as you would in any physical contact, you're still getting hit. You're still falling 5 to 6 feet at a time. You're still hitting wood and metal. There's not very much padding on those rings. The ropes are made of metal cables. When you hit them, it's like hitting a brick wall, and the spring back can graze you. The turnbuckles are covered in padding because it's just a metal bar that is holding the ropes tight. So when you hit a corner, if that padding wasn't there, it's pretty much, again, like being spiked in the spine. Like it is rock solid. And that's why you have to train to do it. You have to learn how to do it safely. All the punches and the kicks, there's little tricks that you can do to throw a punch, but you kind of slap your arm as you kind of coming through, like to get the noise. And you try not to touch, and you leave your fist kind of half open, almost like you're holding an egg, so that it can collapse on impact. But accidents happen. You can still get whacked by a rogue punch. A rogue kick might hit you. The metal chairs are real. They're just real metal chairs. They're not gimmicked in any way. They just hit each other with them. So you come away from a wrestling match sore and battered and hurt, but you're going to win and you're going to lose. And the rest of the match, again, depends on the level that you're at. So the guys that you used to watch, so Mick McManus, Cat Weasel, Johnny Saint, those guys from way back when, they would practice their match over and over and over again. They would do a tour of the country, and they would practice the same match, hold for hold, lock for lock, move for move, until they got to a venue like St. George's Hall or Wembley, and they would then put it on TV. So by the time they got to putting it on TV, they had rehearsed it in front of crowds around the country multiple times. So what you saw on TV was a very polished product. Mm-hmm. What happens these days is, because there isn't really the audience for it in the UK. It's getting there, but whenever I show up to a show, not when I'm running, because I try to put a bit more planning in, but when I go to a show where I've been paid to come and wrestle, I may sometimes have a 20-minute match and have an hour to plan it, and I've never wrestled the guy before. So we show up and we do a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the rest of it you just ad lib on the fly. You just kind of feel the crowd out and just stick stuff in. You don't really plan too much, so it's a little bit more risky now than maybe what it was back then. So yeah, it's fake. I'm sorry, it's not real to that degree, but you still get hurt, and it is still pretty rough and solid, and you need to be a tough cookie to do it.
You mentioned, tell us a little bit about GT Ministries, how that works for you.
Yeah, so that's the ministry I was telling you about, where we tour churches, putting on shows, and sharing my story in the middle of the show. So, like I said, that idea was born from giving Jesus the platform through wrestling. And, if churches are excited about that, if they love the idea of that, if you're sat there going, hey, I'd love to have a show, just get in touch with us. Our website is gtministries.co.uk. We've got like some previous shows and stuff on there you can watch, and we've got a whole talent roster from all over the country. Of people.
Say that, are there other Christian wrestlers that go with you?
Yeah, there's a few. The majority of the talent I use aren't Christian, but that's only because I want them to be Christians. So I'm like, oh, come along, yeah, come to the show. I'll get you on the show. But no, there's a core group of us who are Christian. We have a prayer team behind the scenes, and my wife helps out, and some of the other wrestlers and their wives help out and stuff. So yeah, there's a core group of us who are Christian. And whenever we're doing it at a church, we pray together as a group before the show and after, and there's a communication with the church ahead of time to promote the event, put an alpha course on, so there's something to follow up with, or Christianity Explored, whatever their version might be. But yeah, they're great. They're amazing, fun shows. We want it to be fun for all the family. Kids can come, but we just put Jesus in the center.
Well, you've just ruined my childhood and telling me that everything they did was fake.
I'm sorry. I hate doing it, but everyone always asks me. I hate doing it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sorry.
It's okay, but I mean, it's been fantastic talking to you, Gareth. It's been really great, and some great insights into your own life and how you became a Christian and into what you do at the moment. And I ask this of all the guests that we have on here. Of all the decisions that you made in your life, what do you think was the best decision you ever made?
Oh, without question, to fully submit to Jesus, without question, because that has shaped the rest of my life. Everything that I am blessed with today has been a direct result of that decision, and I continue to make that decision daily because it is the best decision you'll ever make. And when the day comes when I rise up to those pearly gates and Jesus meets me there and he's like, "Hey, don't punch me. I know you're a wrestler." I'll be able to say, "But hey, thanks, man. Like you turn my life around," and I look forward to that day.
Before I go,
until then,
where can I get one of those T-shirts?
so this T-shirt is available on the website. So if you go into gtministries.co.uk, there is a bit on there that says merch. You can go on and there's a bunch of different ones. I've got one that says fearless fighter on the front, and then on the back it says faithful follower. We've got a bunch on there, so you can go on there and find those T-shirts on there.
And so everything is at gtministries.com, is it? Or
.co.uk.
.co.uk.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic talking to you, Gareth. Thank you so much for your time. All the best with you, of course, and you've got plenty join Isabella while you're at the lockdown, and your wife Beth, of course. And with that, I'll just hand back to Alan.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Thanks.
Oh, thanks, Gareth, for answering those questions so great. And it's been so great listening to you. And one young man, he had to leave. He's going to work at 3 o'clock in the morning, he said, but he said he was very inspired by it, Daniel.
Amazing.
So that is great. Yeah, thanks for being so honest about your life. And there's a few people I'd like to have a match with, like George and John Sellis. I'd like to arrange a match, set up a match with a few people. A few people in BMF, I think we'll arrange some matches for you, I think, in the coming day.
We'll have to make that happen. These days, Alan, yes.
Oh, but thanks again, and may the Lord bless you when it opens up again. I pray He'll bless your work, and I pray God will open many, many doors for you, and you get an opportunity to share your story and see many, many people come to faith in Jesus. Thanks again, Gareth, so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, George. And if you want help, please contact us on our direct dedicated prayer hotline. I'll give you the number. It is 07943 550 287. That is 07943 550 287. You can phone, WhatsApp, or text, and someone will be in touch with you either immediately or very soon afterwards, and they will be there to give you some advice and help. And if you want to know more about the work, you can go to our website. That's bmflifestories.com. You can find out all that we're involved in. You can also watch Gareth's story again on Facebook and also on YouTube. And if you go to YouTube on Life Stories at Lunch, you can watch all the Monday night Zoom stories on there. And we'd encourage you to do that and tell others about it. And please subscribe on there. We want to get more subscribers. It doesn't cost you anything, but the more subscribers we have, the more work we'll be able to do. So please do that. And lunchtime, we also have Life Stories at Lunch, a short testimony goes out every lunchtime at Life Stories at Lunch. So please join us at one of these events, and please come again next Monday and hear David Hathaway's story. May God bless you all, and thanks again, Gareth. Thanks, George. Thanks, Howard. God bless you. May you have a wonderful week. In spite of all that's going on, Jesus is alive, and He's promised if you put your trust in Him, He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. God bless you all. Good night.